level with me. How much AI is too much AI when planning out an entire D&D campaign? Have you realized that I'm bulk recording because it's the end of January and the Christmas tree is still up? Trust me, I'm not one of those people who will keep the Christmas decorations up all year round. I'm just not. So it's still December. Hello and welcome to Level With Me, the YouTube channel where we can level up our TTRPG experience together. My name is Will, and today we're going to be discussing a campaign that I've devised and then fleshed out using ChatGPT. I have got the hook, I've got the baddies, I've got the plan to foil, and then I've got the true BBEG of the end game. But before we get into the video, just a reminder that this channel works with shared XP, so any tips, tricks, or thoughts on the subject, leave them in the comments down below to dish out some XP to the other players in our community. Into the video. It is undeniable that AI is getting smarter and slowly creeping its way into the artistry scene. Obviously, last year, WotC got in a bit of trouble with some AI artwork that they claimed they did not know was included in one of the proposed new books, as well as, for example, in the Pokemon trading card scene. There was a competition to design new Pokemon cards, and there were numerous AI art submissions. Go and watch Cupperfee's video on this. It really breaks everything down of how to spot AI art. It's silly how good it's getting. Adobe are now selling AI art. They have to label it as this is AI generated, so they're honest with their customers, but Adobe is selling AI art for money. But the difference is, sadly, that I'm not being paid for my hobby yet. Patreon launching soon. I'm joking, I'm not smart enough or disciplined enough for that. So this campaign that AI helped me flesh out isn't going anywhere, it's not being sold, and it actually did stem from an idea I had in my brain. I just needed a little bit of assistance to get it moving. My brain and the idea, I'm powered by coffee. Woo! My players, please don't watch this video, just in case we do play this campaign at some point. Thank you very much. Actually, put it on mute. Give me that watch time, baby. Give me that watch time. I wanted to create a multi-class paladin rogue, and I know what you're gonna say. Oh, that's not optimized. That's not min-maxed enough. Hey, shh. I go for interesting backstory over power fantasy when I create characters. Also, we don't tell each other how to have fun on this channel. Stop that. I've always wanted to play a paladin, but I do have an affinity for the rogue, as it was my first class, and I enjoy those kind of video games in my spare time. So I wanted to create a backstory that was kind of a justifiable mix between the two. But before we get into that, let's talk about our stats. I would absolutely overlook having a high dex rogue in order to play a more charismatic role, and that would link well with the paladin spellcasting modifier. I'm telling you now, it's not going to be the most ideal rogue build, but it is going to be the class that I invest more levels into. But what would a paladin rogue be called? John Goodman. I think that's original. So, the backstory for this initially paladin, John Goodman, was that they were born to the streets and grew up around the urchins and the downtrodden. So, it was a surprise to everyone when they found their footing in life as part of a paladin order. He was soon brought up to believe in the systems, learning the ways, and preaching the news of the order that had very quickly consumed their life. Then, when they came of age, John was invited to the next level of the hierarchy. However, it was then where he saw some things that conflicted with that which he was taught and what the order preached to the public too. So he started to ask questions. Not long after this, he was called to the Elder's office and was inexplicably let go from the order, something that isn't done often. He was escorted from the hallowed halls, but why? What were they planning? Why were the questions met with such hostility from the higher paladins? It's almost as if someone else was running the show. So I guess John is headed back to the streets he grew up on to rekindle the friendships he had with the urchins and the rogues. He needs to break back into the paladin order so he can find his answers. So he has to go back to the past to look to his future. And that backstory was the catalyst to me thinking, could this be a complete campaign? So I thought I'd test it out with the power of ChatGPT. It started with, for simplicity's sake, we'll stick with our previous name, John Goodman. It started with John Goodman looking for a gentleman named Joran Reeve. I'll say it now, I never actually found Joran because this quest went on a sporadic tale, and I think there's something here that can make it a whole campaign. So we never actually found Joran Reeve while playing with ChatGPT. Joran was a contact that John had from the Order of Eternal Light, the order that John was kicked out of. So they were going to meet at a tavern called the Broken Lantern. Entering the tavern, John asked the bartender just where they could find Joran, and the barkeeper replied, "People don't just go around looking for Joran Reeve without a damn good reason. If you're looking for Joran, you're either desperate, stupid, or both. Either way, I don't want any trouble in my tavern." Joran is obviously a questionable person, for whatever reason that might be. The landlord sends John Goodman to who else but some cloaked individuals in the corner. The leader of this group, Soren, who says that they have information on where to find Joran Reeve, will let us know the details if we can carry out a job for them. A shopkeeper has been talking to the wrong people about this group's doings and has asked John Goodman to put a stop to it. So John Goodman goes to investigate. On arrival, it's clear that the shopkeeper has employed some muscle to keep guard outside the shop, so after a couple of good rolls, John Goodman manages to climb up to the rooftop and scamper across through a skylight of the shop's ceiling. It seems the shop owner is discussing something with another cloaked figure. AI loves cloaked figures, I realized, about a potential shipment that he's been asked to move. John managed to maneuver himself into a position where he could see the cloaked figure's face, a pale complexion with faint scarring along the jaw and the neck. The eyes were the most striking parts, however, dark and cold. After the cloaked figure left, John managed to extract information of that the shipment was locked in the back room of the shop in a small foot-long box. It was due to be picked up later, but we of course stole the goods and then ensured that the shopkeeper couldn't talk to anyone again. We head back to the Broken Lantern Tavern and inform Soren of the information we learnt. We described the face of the cloaked figure who was conversing with the shopkeeper, and Soren knows that face as the Silent Hand. The Silent Hand is often employed for discreet operations, usually when you need someone eliminated or silenced. We open up the small box, the shipment that I stole, to find that it holds an artifact shaped like a hand which is emanating a magical aura, so we decide to take it to a wizard that Soren knows. Before entering the wizard's domain, John checks to see if they were followed. Always check to see if you're followed if it's a dark and mysterious D&D campaign. Rule number 1, people. And guess what? We were followed down the alleyways. The pursuer was hired by the Silent Hand to hunt down the artifact after learning that it had gone missing. After a small interrogation, we learned that the package was meant to be delivered to a warehouse in the South District owned by the Silent Hand before being transported to its final destination, and apparently our pursuer could get us into the warehouse if we let them live. Which we did. We need that information. We managed to break in, avoid the guards, and find some documentation about the artifact. Where was it supposed to be delivered? The Order of Eternal Light. It's all connected. Tell me, is that not a solid basis for a long-form campaign? Well, maybe not at the minute. Let's take what ChatGPT gave us and flesh it out even more. So before we flesh it out, what are you thinking at the minute? Leave your comments below. Could AI write an entire D&D campaign for you? Then after we flesh it out, go back and edit that comment and see if we were anywhere close to what you imagined. You done it? You left your comment? You dished out some XP to the other players in our community? Fantastic. Let's get on to the second half of the video. So we have a paladin order who's secretly trying to collect an artifact, as well as a player who needs to break into that order. So what's the next step? Obviously, you can't just walk into the order. The players would be crushed by the power, so maybe they have to take it to a government official to hand in for authentication of the document and to do some arcana shenanigans on the hand artifact. What would you call that? I guess it would just be an arcana check. The wizard would do some magic to find out about the hand. And so the days pass, maybe weeks, but just a heads up, on my Discord campaign I'm a player in, we've been playing for over a year in real time, and we've only just passed a week worth of in-game time. So you know what? You do with the time jumps what you feel is correct for a government official to arcana check the artifact. Move time. Time is an enigma. Time doesn't exist. Never feed a gremlin past midnight, but technically, it's always past midnight. Ah, See? Anyway, the party receives a letter from a messenger after
Insert time jump.
saying that the document was actually forged and was signed with a pseudonym, a code name. However, the artifact is the truly worrying part of this investigation. They're requested to go to the government building so they can hear all the details from the government themselves. Now, this is the important bit for the DM. You need to somehow finagle a long rest into this bit because overnight, the artifact is going to be stolen from the vault. There is a mole in the government. The players turn up to the government building to find an investigation surrounding the vault in the basement, and they're escorted to a side room with an official that they handed in the artifact to so they can hear more details about it. It turns out the artifact is one of 5 artifacts linked to an ancient ceremony to allegedly resurrect an ancient being. This now turns the campaign into an investigation into the government and the Paladin Order and trying to hunt down these 5 artifacts before anyone else. This gives reasonable doubt to the government, meaning that they can write a warrant to investigate the Paladin Order of Eternal Light. When the players arrive at the Order, they actually discover that they have one of the artifacts. However, it's not the hand artifact that was locked in the vault. The Paladins try to reason that they're collecting the artifacts to try and prevent their collection by an evil entity that they were tipped off about. There'll be some kind of group that's like inverse to the Paladins' belief, like where the Paladins believe that the Eternal Light is holy, this other group might believe that the Eternal Light is hellfire. The party keep digging into this mysterious group, having a few interactions with grunts down the hierarchy before building up to learn one of the elders' names from this alternate paladin group, who we're now going to call the Order of Eternal Hellfire. If the players take the Order of Eternal Hellfire's elder's name back to the paladins at the Order of Light, they will learn that this was the person who was removed from the Order of Eternal Light. This is John Goodman. You see, it's all connected. So what about the government break-in? The party have to dig a little deeper into this elder, make their connections, meet NPCs that know John Goodman, and it turns out that John Goodman's sister is a politician for the city. And guess what? Madam Goodman was working on the night of the vault break-in. That's not in the script. Now armed with this information, with a paladin order behind them as well as all the government officials, the party can take on the evil siblings who have grown their own mass army to take the city and try and resurrect this ancient being. The party interrupt this ancient ritual, but the siblings manage to pull it off. However, John Goodman, seeking revenge, offers his mortal body to this demon, and before the party's eyes, John Goodman's body cracks and contorts and breaks itself and is transformed into an infernal being. And now they are in the endgame. The party have to face off against an ancient demon and his army for one final battle. And there we have it, an entire campaign that stemmed from my brain that was tested with ChatGPT and then grew into something else. What are we thinking? What are your thoughts on this? Where would you have taken that story set up by AI? Let me know your thoughts in the comments to dish out the XP to the players in our community, and I'll see you in the next session. Thank you very much. That felt good. That was a good recording. That felt good. That recording felt good. Yes. Yes! I have too much coffee.